Happy Sabbath. My name is Lawrence, and in this video I'll be summarizing this week's lesson. But before we proceed, kindly subscribe to this channel for new video every week. Now let's get started. This week we are studying lesson 11, Deuteronomy in the later writings. The memory text reads, "The Lord delighted only in your fathers to love them, and he chose their descendants after them. You are above all people, as it is this day." Deuteronomy chapter 10 verse 15. This week's lesson is about how Deuteronomy was used by later writers in the Old Testament. So the Sunday's lesson talks about the book of the law. In this lesson, we studied that Josiah became king of Judah at the age of 8. And when he had ruled for 18 years, something big happened that changed the history of Israel. In 2 Kings 22, we see that the book of the law is mentioned in verse 8. This book of the law is believed to be the book of Deuteronomy. It was lost but found during the reign of Josiah. And when Josiah heard the warnings from the book of the law for the first time, his heart was deeply touched and started a reformation. First, he promised to follow God and obey his commandments. Then, he got rid of everything that God hates in both Judah and Israel. The point is, the great reformation of Josiah revealed how far the people of God had strayed from the truth entrusted to them. Now, the Monday's lesson talks about heaven of heavens. In this lesson, we study that the phrase heaven of heavens is mentioned in Deuteronomy chapter 10 verses 12 to 15. This phrase shows that Moses seemed to be pointing to the majesty and power of God over all creation. Also, the lesson reveals that 1 Kings chapter 8 verse 27, Nehemiah 9:6, Psalm 148 verse 4 are all based on the same phrase that comes from Deuteronomy. In each case, what point is being made? God is the creator not only of earth but also of the heaven of heavens. Especially clear in Nehemiah chapter 9 is the theme of God as the creator and who alone should be worshipped. So the point is, we see the influence of Deuteronomy on the writings of Nehemiah and other books. In the Tuesday's lesson, Deuteronomy and Jeremiah, we study that the influence of Deuteronomy can be seen in the writings of Jeremiah too. Jeremiah 29 verse 13 is also found in the book of Deuteronomy. As we have already seen, the book of Deuteronomy had been rediscovered during the reign of King Josiah, and it was under Josiah's rule that Jeremiah began his ministry. No wonder then that the influence of Deuteronomy can be seen in the writings of Jeremiah. Again, in Jeremiah chapter 7 verses 1 to 7, we see the concept of obedience, including how to treat strangers, that was first seen in the book of Deuteronomy. So we see in this lesson that the later writers used quotes or ideas from the book of Deuteronomy in their writings, and Jeremiah is not an exception. Now, the Wednesday's lesson talks about what does the Lord require. In this lesson, we study that so much of the writings of the prophets consisted of appeals to faithfulness, thus to the covenant. In Micah 6:2, we see the Lord bring a case against his people for violation of the covenant. Also, we see in the lesson how Micah borrows language directly from Deuteronomy. Now, the verses we have studied today from both Moses and Micah show us the most important things that God wants from his people. Thus, he wants them to show mercy and justice. Now, the Thursday's lesson talks about Daniel's prayer. And in this lesson, we study that one of the most famous prayers in the Old Testament is Daniel 9. But in Daniel 9 verse 1, we see some idea that comes from the book of Deuteronomy. The prayer of Daniel shows us exactly what God in Deuteronomy warned his people about if they broke his agreements. They lost their homes and land because they disobeyed God. At the same time, the prayer of Daniel shows us hope that God had not forgotten his people. That is all that I had for you today. Read Friday's lesson for further thoughts. Thanks for watching. My name is Lawrence. See you next week.